Hi and welcome. I'm Jeff Bellomo and welcome to the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law and, well, hey, anything else we want to talk about. And today is going to fall under the and anything else we want to talk about category. Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Steve is one of my dear friends, and he is with Final Focus Productions. He does everything sort of audio, visual, and we'll let him kind of introduce himself. But before we get into that, I just want to do the legal disclaimers, right? Please do not take this advice from this show or any other show for that matter as legal advice. This is just educational and information purposes only. If you're looking for legal advice in any of the areas we are talking about, please seek an attorney in your area who specializes in the area that you are looking for. This is going to be a lot of fun today, and it should be taken as fun and informational and educational only. Thank you. Okay, now that we got that out of the way. So, Steve, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do for a living.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, should I have some sort of disclaimer that says anything I say about audio, video may or may not benefit you?
We already covered that. It's the two of us.
Jeff, thanks again so much for having me. And I guess the basic thing is that I help people. I reduce stress. You're always looking for that right elevator speech.
Yeah.
What I do is I help people create in-person events and virtual events and reduce their stress by just taking the audio, visual, and technical portion away from them. And in doing that, hopefully see other things that they're doing and add even more value to their presentations and even things like this to their recordings.
Yes. And do you happen to remember how we met? I'm just curious.
I do remember how I met.
So do I.
I actually tell this story frequently because I laugh at it all the time.
I do too.
So Jeff was actually a guest on a show we did with a group called Conrad Siegel out of Harrisburg, and Jeff was the guest that day. And things, fortunately, went really well that day. And I remember Jeff coming over to me at the end, and he goes, "Hey, do you guys travel?" And I'm thinking, I'm going to Hawaii. He goes, "No, York." York? Oh, York. Yeah, we'll do that. But it was just a great, he had it's really interesting to. Jeff got to see our services not through a website, not through a referral, but firsthand experience of being the guest and how we handle things and see what we're doing. And it resonated, so it was great.
Yeah, I absolutely remember that. I tell that story to a lot of people. I agree with you. I think what better way to sort of be introduced to a potential, colleague, vendor, whatever you want to call it, than working on a production that I was in and seeing how incredible it was.
Thank you.
The professionalism, just everything. I mean, you can't understate it. And of course, since then we've worked together on a few different projects. So
probably 5 or 6 jobs of scope.
Been wonderful. I mean, we've been nothing but 100% pleased and love working with you and the company. And so speaking of a couple of the things that we've done together, probably the bigger projects that we've done are some of the all-day boot camps that we offer. Mm-hmm. As my listeners know, we are education-based at Bellomo and Associates. My entire goal is so that what happened to my family doesn't happen to yours, and so we tend to do that through education. And on most of the time, it's for consumers. It's education about estate planning and elder law, but we also do a professional boot camp that we invite financial professionals looking for CPA, CFP insurance credit, also healthcare professionals looking for RN, certified nurse practitioner, social worker, family matters counselor, and there's others, credit. And Steve is the gentleman who is always about halfway in the room, as far as back in the room and recording, and afterwards getting testimonials of people who have attended the boot camp. And it's an all-day venture. I mean, it's we start like 8 and we end at like 3 or 3:30 typically. Right. So he certainly
not to mention
earns,
setup time.
Yeah. And significant. That is the one thing that always stands out for me is, you're looking, 2-3 hours ahead at least for the events that we're doing. And, certainly we're small I'm sure on the scope of some of the large projects that you do, but it's fascinating to watch. And I've been with him on a few occasions. I won't say helping. I certainly am of no help, but just from a
moral
standpoint, yeah, watching and just watching him do his craft, and it's fascinating. It's so good to watch, and
I'll chime in and say
yeah,
what I love most about my job is what I get to learn about everyone else's business, and I'm very blessed in that people in your cases, your educational sessions are mostly free, and things, but we do these conferences and people are paying upwards of a couple $1,000s at times to hear these keynotes and training sessions, and I'm being paid to be there to work, and I get the bonus of learning so much, and I really have been blessed to learn from Jeff. Sometimes it's about management and sales and networking, but other times in his profession about how some of this legal stuff actually works in the background, and it can get complicated. And it's just nice to know the terms. And Jeff has helped me on an occasion with things, and it's nice to be able to kind of understand what's really happening, why you can't just do this or just do that. And
yeah.
so it's been rewarding.
We had a conversation one time just about a situation that you were having, and just asking some background questions, and it was fascinating to me how much that you remembered. I mean, yeah, some of the details were fuzzy as far as the specifics, but when you're in a room for 7-8 hours, and you've heard you've heard the same speech a couple times, you could probably give it fairly soon here. But it was neat to kind of watch how you absorbed it, even though you were working, doing something else. You certainly weren't just sitting there idly, and you were paying attention. It was very clear. So that was kind of fun for me. How did you get into kind of audiovisual? Like, I'm dying to know. I actually don't know this story.
Oh, well, what's the condensed version? So I've always just been fascinated with sound from a little kid, like 5-6 years old, been just fascinated with sound. And, back in I was born in 66. So, through the 70s when I was really young into the 80s, just listening to music and trying to understand how airwaves work. Like, how do you, technically, I thought I was going to be an electrical engineer. I was going to hack for an electrical engineering degree. And not that I can do any of that math or calculus for sure. But thought I wanted to be an audio engineer. So I went to a technical school and got some certificates, and was actually hired on the phone by Channel 27 in Harrisburg by a gentleman, Brun Freeman. And we were the fledgling morning news program in Harrisburg. This was 88, I guess.
Wow.
And I was just fascinated. So if you know anything about how a TV studio is set up, the audio guys are in the back, then you've got producers and directors, and then you've got this massive wall of video monitors. And I would just go, what is all that? I had no idea. Wow. They would let me stay and play and learn television production and cameras and switchers and all the associated equipment, and stayed there for about 2 years. Was a technical director when I left there. Went to a low power TV station to help them get off the ground. Then went to corporate video production. It did what we call scripted corporate videos. And in 1991 went out on my own, and it was kind of scary. I had no plan to do this. I highly recommend not doing it this way, by the way. I can only tell you how not to do things. But fortunately, things have panned out very well over the years. But left there, and some of the customers actually sought me out. They said, hey, we understand you're not with so-and-so anymore, but we still need you to do the work. And so for the last 25-ish years of my self-employment was doing scripted corporate video. And then, of course, it turned into a lot of interview-based stuff and reality-ish kind of things. But we used to create these sizzle reels for companies. It's, opening videos for their events. And I never thought about it. Here's your award winners. Here's the president. Here's this. And we were creating all these animations and things. And I never really questioned, well, where do you play these things that we give you back then on tape?
Right.
And found out it was at these live events, and you'd have 1,000 people in the room, and the projectors are on, and our videos would be playing up on these screens. And I was like, well, I could do your event production for you too. So now it became full service, location production and everything, then the event work. And I just really, truly, passionately fell in love with the event world, the in-person event world, in 2019. Well, then we know what happened in 2020. So all of a sudden, every job, like March 9th, I remember the phone ringing, all of our work for the year canceled because the venues were closed. Nobody was allowed to work in person. And we were already doing a lot of recording and streaming of these other events anyway, so I almost had to jump on some of this
Right.
to go and start doing full-blown virtual events. From the office I'm in right now, actually, we do this all remotely. And fortunately, we're back to in-person events because that's what I love the most.
That's
And
awesome.
where can we add value? And my phrase is the butt in the seat. I love you, Jeff and Jenna and everybody at your office, but I need to make sure the people who are attending your workshops, that's what I'm most concerned with. Can they hear properly? Can they
Yeah.
see properly? Is the person online watching the Zoom meeting, are they having a good experience? I call that the butt in the seat, and I think if they're satisfied, you're going to go, yep, you can teach legal, I'll do the rest.
Yeah. For the listeners, obviously there aren't many elder law attorneys out there doing boot camps. I realize that that's a pretty small
Yeah.
kind of niche, but and maybe you can't name names, and I totally understand that. But what types of events for listeners who are like, well, I'm not understanding the scope from small to big? Some examples?
Okay, so we actually just finished a large conference last week, which was about 1,000 attendees that were registered,
Oh
and
my!
it was at Kalahari Resort. So, understanding they have 900 hotel rooms. They are booked in November for last week. So they own and they utilized all 200,000. It sounds like a Kalahari, commercial. They also utilized all 200,000 square feet of meeting space and their entire staff. There was no one else in the venue essentially except for these conference goers. So I don't know, maybe we'll email pictures or something later on. But we do everything in the room. So when you have 1,000 seats in a room, we have three 20-foot projection screens in the room, two up front and one midway back.
Right.
All the sound system, all the lighting in the room. So we're creating an atmosphere of what's happening in there. And like these conferences and training sessions, like your training sessions, we did 8 concurrent breakout rooms. So we also have audio video equipment in 8 concurrent rooms that we have technicians monitoring, wireless mic batteries and such. And so that's on the far end of things. And we just actually did two of that scope this year, where you've got 2,500 people moving about.
Oh, that's massive. Did they also have
Yes.
an online presence, or no? Was it all
In this case,
room?
they did not. We did
Okay.
record some things.
Okay.
In years past, we have streamed all of that, meaning simultaneously it's projected out to an online audience. They chose not to do that this year. We've also done events. I'll call it my real sweet spot is probably in the 500 to 800 attendee range. That's just because we have a large market in the association membership based groups, and these are the
Okay.
people who are bringing all their members together. But in a lot of those cases, we've also had what we call the true hybrid. So there's virtual like this. We're just recording and pushing out, in person, pushing it out, or hybrid where some of the keynote speakers would be in the room and some of the keynote speakers would be online. So we are taking them and projecting them in the room for the audience. So they're not even present in the room. So it just adds a technical challenge to things, but it's been working well. And anybody who's using Zoom or any kind of technology, they see how much this is catapulted,
Yeah.
ability wise over the last year.
And where's most of your business coming from? Your charming good looks, I know, but
It's my friends like you.
so mostly referrals.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
I should probably I don't really call myself a salesman. I'm much like you. I'm just an educator. And here's what we could do. Here's how we help you out. And then the decision is usually made. We like this guy. But it is referral and repeat business. They're also obviously the most profitable kinds of work you can get. We are in the process of building a new website, and like every production company, it's always in progress of a new website. But this one's actually scheduled and due to launch sometime in early June, I think. So it's just keeping people happy, understanding
Yeah.
their needs. I love like the conference last week. We've been working with them for 17 years. So it's you really. I'm a true relationship builder. That we can do a lot of insight. I'm also a great. He called me the other day. He says Steve's the best fly on the wall you'll ever have, because I listen to all the attendees, and they don't necessarily even know I'm doing the audio visual work, but I'm listening to what they're saying, what their feedback is, and I'm providing that back to my customer, and they're making changes in their event according to what they're hearing, because that may not end up on a survey form,
No, probably won't.
at the end of the day. I
Wow.
just really love it. I love, interacting with the people, and hey, you get lots of free swag at the exhibition hall, so.
That's cool. That is awesome. Yeah, that is great, man. That it's fascinating. I mean, we like you said, what six or so projects, give or take,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
I can honestly say I don't know that we have ever had an issue like at all. And
Terrific.
that's fascinating. I mean, especially in the audio visual world, right? I mean, it's almost probably common to have stuff come up or to occur, but I can't think
Yeah.
of one, honestly.
Well, we were at the church one time. There was one, and they were actually they were vacuuming rocks off the ceiling.
Well,
So
but that wasn't your fault, though.
that wasn't us, but they were literally vacuuming
No.
like these 3/4 inch rocks or whatever. Well, probably 2 or 3 inch rocks off the ceiling. That was incredible.
Yeah.
There
That
was
was a maintenance event, I think, right, with our clients, if
Yeah,
I recall.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Oh,
That's right.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. But that
But
certainly was not your fault or any issue created. I mean, even the online stuff when we have streamed things, I mean, it's fascinating. And I know that
and
some of that stuff is outside of your control, but still.
right, and part of it is always testing. Like we've always gone to the venues beforehand, and we test things, and make sure the internet speeds are correct and
Right.
connectivity is correct, and are we utilizing any of their equipment versus all of our equipment, and what's the connectivity there. So
Yeah.
planning, like anything, like what you do, Jeff. It's like
Yeah.
everything is just about planning. All
Yeah.
I ever say, money wise, once we're on site doing the job, all I do is prevent hemorrhaging. The money is being spent, and we just want to prevent the hemorrhaging
Yeah.
of making this look good. And something I always tell people about the difference between I'm an aspiring professional after 30 years. The difference between professionals and amateurs is I hope to have already at least a plan B and plan C in place. If something happens, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
So that people generally don't actually notice errors. I mean, they're egregious errors. Yes, they see them, but a lot of times, if no one points them out, no one is the wiser. And
Yeah.
so, we try to plan for that, and that's why we say about the difference between amateurs and professionals. We try to have something in place and a fail safe or a fallback
Yeah.
on things.
I
Let's
had
plan.
I know we didn't talk about this because I haven't talked to you in the last few weeks and it just happened recently, but similar thing. I had a client that we were going through documents and we were, ultimately signing the documents, but I was explaining everything and he was like, why is everything so long? Why are and I looked at him and I said, because we're the professionals and our job is to
Right.
protect you and your family from things that you have no idea could happen and the law changing and this happening and that happening. And our documents provide a contingency for the contingency for the contingency. And,
Perfect.
what are the chances that you're going to need all, 100% of every page? Probably not. The problem is you don't know which 30% you're going to need and not need. And
Right.
so our job is to plan. And that's what you do. I mean, coming the day before and the time that you spend and just it's mind numbing in a good way, but it's just you're making sure we're going to test everything to the point where if it's going to fail, you want it to fail tonight.
Right, exactly. Yep. Yep.
And
What
then
are
you're going
what
to
are
have
our
a
options?
contingency. Exactly. And then we'll have time to figure it out. But I looked at the documents that way. And as the client was leaving
Yeah.
and I was shaking his hand, I was actually thinking of you. And I was like, that's the same thing he does. I mean, it's just in a different profession, obviously, but we're no different. I mean, we're both professionals that try to provide the best service we can and educate in the meantime and hope that everything we do is right.
Yeah, and it really is. I hope it doesn't sound cheesy, but it just really is caring.
Yeah.
I want you to absolutely look and sound your best, and I can only do that if I do these steps of planning,
Yeah.
and and in turn educating you. And I think we've had the discussion of, hey, you help me and I'll help you, and it's like I'm always happy to, how's my microphone sound? Let's just do some tests, and how's my camera look, and happy to help, because if you're on Zoom, we're recording right now, but you do hundreds of meetings online with people, and why not just put your best foot forward? And a
Yeah.
lot of times it's just simple fixes and noticing things that are going on, and
Yeah.
so it's good. It's all about
And
your
caring.
brand.
I think that word
It's
caring
caring.
is you said it and I was like, he's right. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, even when it's maybe not something directly related to a specific project, just a question. I mean, you're always there. You know, no questions asked, and you know, certainly on
Yeah,
the flip
just
side, you know that I'm happy to pay as well. But it's just a great relationship, which is
want to help.
wonderful.
Yep, thanks. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I appreciate all your insight and about everything. I've
yeah,
learned so much about the law and legal and
yeah.
what's going on, and it's important.
It is a lot of fun. So, you know, the one thing that we did, and I alluded to it earlier, but the one thing that you did at the end of one of the boot camps about the testimonials and stuff, and I was watching that the other day. I saw it originally when it came out because it's been a little while, but
Yeah.
watching it back now, wow, is that powerful. And, you know, I know that's not your bread and butter necessarily at all, but just to people listening, I mean, please don't underestimate the value of a video testimonial.
Absolutely.
It is something. I mean, I watched it back and I wanted to attend the next boot camp, and I'm teaching it, you know, like
That's right. The presenter is excellent.
yeah, I mean, it was fascinating, and I know because I happened to be in the room with you as you were doing it. You were prompting them with just kind of questions to get them
Yeah.
thinking, but that's harder than it looks too. I mean, I know that is, and you know that's coming from all the experience and the stuff you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier about early in your career for sure.
Right. And that's part of I just like to learn stuff. And again,
Right.
blessed to be in front of so many different people. But yeah, some of that it's not you're not just asking questions of people. Like a true interview is understanding like their viewpoint. So it's like, yeah, I need to understand what they just watched so I can, in a way, not evilly, but help put words in their mouth of what they just saw. So they'll tell me, so the interview is about, extracting good information from them. So it's like, here's what you just learned about. So I have to know what I just learned about.
Yeah.
And, kind of prep them for the type of response we're looking for. And it's fun. It's a great way to get to know other people and see how they really perceived what happened. And it's fresh. It's like right in their mind instantly after the event. And
Yeah, and even
it's
the
fun.
editing that you did, I mean, I imagine, several people said some of the same things, but you were able to take a little piece of each one and make it like they all said completely different stuff, which is not easy, I know.
I should actually take notes after I watch this recording because it's like, yeah, I guess I really try not to ask them all the same question because they're all going to have the same response. So it's making, 6 or 7 people in a matter of 10 minutes all sound unique.
Yeah. And even
yeah.
if you do ask the same question, they may say the same thing, but that doesn't mean that that's what you edit out or edit and
Right.
leave. And that's the part that I noticed was, I'm sure he got some of the same answers. He had to have, but man, like just the ability to ask different questions and to not edit the same stuff in all of them. I mean, I can only imagine how many hours that takes. And the one thing I'll say from the consumer perspective is 100% of the time, I mean, every price, everything is very reasonable. You always get worried about being taken advantage of, and that never is the case with you. And in fact, I know for a fact that you don't get paid nearly as much as you should and don't bill for everything you should. But that doesn't go unnoticed either, though.
I've studied leadership for a while and studied sales for a while and all that. And I just love working and helping people, and it comes back. You give a bit, you get a lot back.
Yeah.
And
I'm hoping to have Dave, on the podcast. We're trying to coordinate a Dave and time, but Steve and I have attended a friend of ours. His name is Dave Romeo, and Romeo Seminars and Romeo Online University. Sorry,
Right.
Just a great human being and a great group of people that attend his events. And Steve and I both belong to it and have gone to several together. And it's kind of fun seeing each other in a different context because that's not where we met.
Right.
So
there's always
neat.
takeaways from those.
Oh
Always.
yeah, and you've done that, I believe, for a little while now, right?
I've actually known Dave for like 20
That's what
something,
I thought.
20 something years, and he and I just sort of got reacquainted about a year or plus ago.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of stepped in and want to help his live stream because he does a Zoom component with his webinars now, so I help him with that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's fascinating.
have
It's just
tools will
neat.
travel.
Yeah, it's neat to see people in different contexts, and you know, that's not where we met, and not even where we worked together at all. But just to walk in a room and see a smiling face and be able to stand us on the side and talk and catch up was really fun for me.
Always good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
For sure. So what's next for Final Focus Productions or Steve in particular?
Wow. What's next for me? Well, I always like talking business. December 35th. There we go. December 31st, 2025. It seems to have fallen off my monitor here, but that's the day when I want to. My goal is to stop necessarily working. I will still work because I love and enjoy what I do, but I'll be 60.
Nice.
But my goal is that then I can be a little choosier about what I'm doing and also donate more of my time to organizations that need my services but can't necessarily afford it. So if I can add value to what they're doing. But I'll just keep working because I just love this stuff. And the technology is always a challenge because it changes every 3 days now, it seems. So as far as the company goes, I've got a lot of great, they're subcontractors. And I'm very transparent with all of my customers on how all of this handles, and that if something happens to me, their projects still go on because there is repetition of me built into the system. But I've been fortunate that we can do multiple jobs simultaneously, so I can manage things. Sometimes I'm the one who absolutely needs to be on site with a particular job, but other projects can happen simultaneously. And our equipment base is always growing, our storage facility is always growing to accommodate that. But it's I just love when we work with the right people and we have great vendors and great customers, and the serious amount of mutual respect for what each of us does. I mean, there's got to be money involved. I get that part, but
sure,
there's certain people you want to work with.
Yeah.
And
you tend to find ways to do that, right?
Absolutely do. Yeah.
Yeah. There's been times where could we have probably figured it out? Maybe. I don't know, but I don't even consider it. But I don't even consider it. Why would I not want to spend the day with you? Why would I not want to hang out with you?
Totally. And the lunches are great.
Yeah,
I want some food.
Amen. It's a lot of fun and it's great. But
it is.
Man, this was great. I appreciate you
this is awesome.
sharing this, and I want to thank all my listeners again for your time today. And as always, how would a listener find you, Steve? How would they be able to look you up if they were looking to have you for an event?
Okay. The current website is Trust, TRUSTFFP, Trust FFP, Frank Paul. .com. Easier is my name. You can see it in the bottom here, Steve Kownacki. Just look that up on LinkedIn. And I don't do much of the other socials because they really don't do anything for me. But being on LinkedIn is very powerful. And again, talk to Jeff. He knows how to find me.
So I can't say enough about Steve and Final Focus Productions and everything you guys do, and even all the subcontractors and people are all top notch and just quality individuals, professional and everything. So thank you for joining us on the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law and, anything else we want to talk about. And today we talked about and anything else we want to talk about category with Steve Kownacki, and it was a lot of fun. Thank you, Steve. Thank you to all the listeners.
Absolutely awesome.
We'll see you on the next podcast, the Red Wagon Estate Planning Elder Law Show. Until then, we'll see you real soon. Hi, I'm Jeff Bellomo. I would like to personally invite you to the next upcoming Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law. And, anything else we want to talk about on the next episode. I have Steve Kownacki joining me from Final Focus Productions, and we are having a great time sharing how Steve and I met, a little bit about his business and what he does with Final Focus Productions and setting up audiovisual for events and assisting people with live streaming. You cannot find a better human being and a better company. So we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly. Until next time, we'll see you real soon.